Hey, gorgeous. I hope this evening or day or morning, whenever this video finds you well. Um, Me personally, it finds pissed off. So I want to talk about it. um, I have been over the last few weeks getting more and more irritated by some of the stuff that I am seeing currently online. And I want to clarify that although I am going to be talking about Blake Lively in particular, this is not just about Blake Lively. This is about a pattern of behavior that I am seeing that is very much about how we are treating women in general and the kind of media landscape that is currently going on. And what I'm just so irritated by is that, like, no matter where I look, the fact that I am not interested in this stuff, the fact that I am not interested in bringing down women and talking about how much we hate their fucking hair or the way they dress or the way that they speak to people because it's not, media trained and it's not nice enough, then I don't want to be seeing this stuff. I'm actively trying to not see this, and it is all over everywhere I look, all over Beyonce's internet, constantly, and I hate it. And so, you know what? If nobody else is going to get pissed off, then I'm going to get pissed off. And look, yes, maybe it is that I am bleeding right now. Maybe I'm more pissed off than I would usually be. The hormones are raging. I will be honest with you. But I just keep on seeing this shit and it is driving me crazy. I'm over it. So let's get into it. And so, for anybody who was following along back when all of this was going on, which I wasn't, to be perfectly honest, but I saw kind of glimpses of it here and there, and I will go into a little bit further detail later on in the video. But very broadly, the backstory of all of this is that Blake was in that Colleen Hoover film about a year ago. She did the media release for it. She said some things that were a bit weird, and everyone was like hugely on the hate train for her. And then we discovered that Justin Baldoni had actually been running a smear campaign against her. And the reason that he had been putting the smear campaign in place was because she was going to file a sexual harassment lawsuit against him, and he was trying to get ahead of it. So we knew all of this. We know all of this now. And yet, what is just driving me crazy trying to figure out what the fuck is going on is that now that A Simple Favor 2 is coming out, and all of the kind of, the trailers and everything for that are coming out, all I'm seeing across my TikTok, anytime this stuff comes up, is videos from people talking about how much they hate her styling, the fact that she clearly styled herself again in this film because they hate it so much, talking about how frizzy her hair is, and like, isn't she such an old, washed up, like, idiot, trying to kind of relive her glory days from Gossip Girl because she used to be like so famous when she was young, and she was hot back then, but like she's trying to like, it's really, are we not hearing ourselves when we talk about this kind of stuff? It blows my mind. Anyway, so even though we know that this was all started through a smear campaign, I feel like the kind of vitriolic glee that people have taken up the misogynistic kind of cudgel to beat Blake Lively with across the internet, all they needed was an excuse. And even though they now know that the reason that they were actually like tricked into doing this was for another person's purpose, to hide the fact that Justin Baldoni had sexually harassed her, and she's actually a victim in this situation. Yet now we're like, oh, but we like to make fun of her for being old and frizzy and frumpy and having bad taste in clothes. So we're going to continue doing that. So all of this commentary on Twitter and TikTok is really about a perceived vibe, the fact that people don't like her because of something pretty ephemeral. There's no real thing that you can stick down and say, like, this is why I don't like you. It's not about her actions. It's about how she is being perceived. And it is so, so often about how she looks. And that is the issue that I have, because I understand that there are deeper things to talk about. and to say that there is some stuff that she has done that is problematic. I don't know the full details of everything. I do know that she had a plantation wedding. That's, if we're going to talk about anything, sure, 100%. Very, very valid reason to say that we don't want to fuck with Blake Lively anymore. But I just think it's very interesting that, like, I I don't know. I see this a lot, I think, online, and I am not someone. I'm not going to pretend that I'm like above all of this and that I have never experienced this before either. I think sometimes it's very easy to find like a celebrity who you don't like for some reason. You just don't vibe with them. You think that they're weird. You don't like their vibe at all. And you can kind of go, "Oh, well, there's not really any real reason for me to hate them, but I do." And maybe you feel bad about the fact that you hate them. So you go and you look up reasons that would make it okay for you to hate them. And I think that, having a plantation wedding, pretty good reason. Um, some of the stuff that she apparently said when she was working on Gossip Girl, pretty good reason to not like her. Um, I have definitely experienced this myself where I've been like, I don't like that person, that famous person who I will never interact with in my life. I don't know this person at all. I just think that's the other thing is like, it's crazy that we have such a like strong feeling about any of these people. They're celebrities. They're all weirdos. They're all completely out of touch. Having any kind of moral high ground about like whether this celebrity is better than this one or better than that one is just bonkers to me because none of them are. They're all fucked up. Like, let's be realistic here. I don't know. I just am like, anyway, I think that this is part of a bigger issue here. We're seeing this. The reason that I am irritated by this, frustrated by this, is that I'm seeing this as part of a larger kind of misogynistic pattern. When the Met Gala happened and Doechii was yelling at her staff, uh, you know, there was a lot of talk about that online, right? And people were talking about it and being like, "Oh my god, did you see the way Doechii spoke to her staff? Crazy, side eye." And first of all, I'll be perfectly honest. I watched that video and I was like, it was a loud room. She was in a stressful situation. She's a boss. She's a diva. She can do whatever the fuck she likes. I think that it was fine. I think that it was like she was speaking in a frustrated tone. I think sure the swearing, like maybe not. But I really didn't think it was that bad. But I think in the Doechii situation, once again, we're just seeing another case of people being like, famous woman, she's getting a little too big for her boots. I would quite like to bring her down. So what's some proof of something that we can use against her to say that she's like a terrible person? And so that was, the thing that everybody's been waiting for because people are sick of hearing anxiety playing on TikTok. So they needed to bring her down a notch and make sure that everybody knew that she was a terrible person and maybe we should cancel her. And personally, I just think like obviously it's misogyny. It's obviously misogynoir. I mean, are we not like think a little bit? Have some critical thought. We saw it with Rachel Ziegler. We saw it with Meghan Markle. We saw it with Meg Thee Stallion. People are constantly looking for a reason to hate women, and people are constantly looking for a reason to hate women of color, and people are constantly looking for a reason to see a woman who is successful and who is, doing better than they are. Let's be realistic. Uh, and they want to bring them down. And I don't know, all of this feels like part of this, as I say, larger kind of misogynistic pattern that we see consistently. And of course, I will be bringing in the Amber Heard of it all because I think it's very obvious that we need to be making these parallels because it's just so clear. Like, and I just what just gets me, I think, I'm angry at the moment, but like really what this is just sadness because I'm just over the massive amounts of misogyny that is just explicitly everywhere. Like, just say you hate women and go, I'm over it. I'm so fucking over it. So Blake Lively, as I say, this is part of a documented, coordinated smear campaign. And the reason it was and is and remains so successful is because people love to hate on women. And people are kind of carrying on that torch for the smear campaign. And so I think I just want to talk to you about like how easily we're bought into this kind of stuff. And I want to think about when you see this kind of stuff, just just take a moment to think, who wants me to be saying this kind of stuff? Who wants me to be liking these comments? Who wants me to be carrying on this storyline? So keep that in mind as I kind of talk about the situation. So as I kind of covered a little bit in the intro of the video, I think what really gets me is that the commentary I'm consistently seeing in videos that people are making on TikTok, in the comment sections of anything about A Simple Favor, anything about Blake, is always about aesthetics. The judgments are always about her hair being too frizzy. Oh my God, who let her out like that? Oh my God, it's just dry. She's using her own hair care brand, and therefore, who would ever buy from that? Oh my God, who does she think she is? She's, completely blind, blah, whatever. It's about her styling. Oh, she did the styling for that Colleen Hoover film. And, we could all tell. Why did she fire her stylist? She's not a stylist. She clearly wanted all of this control. And, she shouldn't have gotten it because she's bad at styling. And, oh, look, she probably did the styling on A Simple Favor too. And we can see that, even though realistically I was looking at it and I was like, it's fine, but whatever. There's terrible styling on movies all the time. Like, do we really care that much? And then, you also have everyone being like, Anna Kendrick must hate being in the same room as her. Oh my God, poor Anna Kendrick being, contractually obligated to finish this movie. But I bet every second that they weren't filming together that she just was like, I'm not going to talk to you because I hate you so much. I mean, this kind of like storytelling that we do about people who, once again, we don't know. Like, you don't know Anna Kendrick. You don't know Blake Lively, do you? I mean, crazy to me. The facial tone policing, the like, yes, she probably is a mean girl. She's an incredibly famous and rich actress. Yes, she probably is a mean girl. Who cares? I just don't understand the care for it. All of these aesthetic complaints get coded as moral failings, and that is where I have an issue. It's not that I don't like her outfit, it's she's a bad person, and therefore I don't like her outfit. This is all just a cover for misogyny, so it's a very easy way for people to join in a dog pile while claiming that it's because they just don't like her, and it's about taste and it's about standards. And then when people are challenged, they can bring up the real issues, which are that she had the plantation wedding, or that she was actively mean, or that she was, a bit of a bitch in that interview with the pregnancy thing or whatever. And yes, 100% real issues. I mean, I feel like some of the meanness, whatever, it's just like, yeah, sure. Would we ever make those kind of comments about a male actor? I don't see it very often. But maybe it happens. I don't know. But if that were the true problem, if the plantation wedding and any other kind of stuff that is going on, I don't know. I'm sure if she's had a plantation wedding, I'm sure there's other racist allegations that we can make. I don't know about them personally, but if those were the real issues, that would be the thing that is being brought up, right? That's not what the conversation that's being had is, though. It's never about that, because that's not fun to talk about. That's not fun for people to kind of kiki and giggle over in the comment section, because those are like real complaints. But it's the same kind of thing as people being like, oh, it's okay to make, you know, body shaming comments about someone because they're an asshole. And it's like, sure, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. You can make those comments. But you do understand that anybody who sees those and looks the same as the person that you're making those comments about isn't going to be like, oh, yeah, but they're an asshole. And so that doesn't apply to me. They know that, like, you would think that about them because you're the one making those comments, being like, she's ugly, she's fat, she has frizzy hair, whatever. And it's like, maybe, I don't know, just think about like why that is the like go to for you. Do you have like more interesting things that you could talk about? And I don't know, maybe it's not fun to hear this. Um, and I'm not targeting this at you, I guess. Like when I say you, I don't mean you, my beautiful audience, because I hope that you wouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. But I just like, I don't know. I'm sure I have gone through these stages of my own as a younger woman. And I think it's worth thinking about this stuff. Okay, so let's go a little bit over some of the history, right? So in late 2024, It Ends With Us comes out on their like press tour. Blake Lively makes some of those comments saying that you should like wear your florals and come down to the movies. It's very tone deaf, right? She's talking about a movie that deals with domestic violence. Saying come down, wear your florals, maybe like a little bit like, is that the right thing to say? Maybe not. The film was already pretty controversial because of the subject matter. I did notice at the time, actually, I thought it was very interesting that there was already quite a bit of commentary about the fact that Blake was apparently too old to play this character. Um, and like, whatever. I haven't read the book. I don't know. But yeah, I think just like keeping that in mind as well, that already we were talking about the kind of thing of she's too old to play this character, like too old to play against Justin Baldoni, who I'm pretty sure is the same age as her. Um, so, you know, once again, like what kind of stuff are we playing into here with this sort of commentary, right? And then Blake Lively left the press tour. She was kind of citing personal reasons. It was all very quiet. Nobody really knew what exactly was going on, but that happened, right? And then what followed was, as I say, a coordinated smear campaign. We saw suddenly everyone was saying, like, how tone deaf it was that she'd brought up the florals thing, that she was being really mean in all of these interviews, that she was too old to play the part, that, like, the costumes that we were seeing photos of in the pre-release photos looked ugly and she must have had something to do with them. There was talk about her having, um, pushed to be a bigger part of the production and all of this stuff. And everybody was online and everybody was hating. And then we got the New York Times article where it was laid out very, very clearly. And there has been no denial of this from Justin Baldoni's team because there can't be, because it's true, that Justin Baldoni had hired the same PR firm as Johnny Depp hired for the smear campaign against Amber Heard during his trial for domestic violence and abuse against Amber Heard, where he was able to use that PR campaign to great effect to completely smear Amber Heard's name so that nobody believed her when it came time to do the trial. As we all know how that turned out. And there are still remaining people who believe that she was not the victim in that case and that Johnny Depp was. Purely based on the fact that people didn't like her. They didn't like her vibe. They thought that she was someone that they just didn't trust, right? Even though, anyway, we don't need to go into the whole Amber Heard situation, but by completely ruining Amber Heard's reputation prior to the trial happening, and then by using the trial as another method for the smear campaign, by, making sure that he could completely ruin her as he promised he would. I mean, I will always think Johnny Depp is probably one of the most evil human beings alive. I just think he's just foul, a foul human being. And whether or not you think that Amber Heard is a good person or not, I mean, I don't really think that that's relevant in these cases. I don't think it's really relevant whether Blake Lively is a good person or not. Because as we found out, the reason that Justin Baldoni had hired the PR team was to get ahead of Blake Lively's legal complaints, the sexual harassment complaint that she made against him. And it worked in exactly the same way as Johnny Depp's smearing of Amber Heard worked. Um, until some would have thought the New York Times article came out and we could see what had happened. We had these text messages between the PR team manager and Justin Baldoni saying that they were going to seed these kind of mean girl TikToks. They referenced the Hailey Bieber model, which, I mean, that's a whole other conversation we can go into, the Hailey Bieber thing. That they were going to leak these Blake Lively being difficult on set stories to Page Six and other outlets, that they would encourage Baldoni to post kind of these like soft, family-friendly Instagram posts. I mean, we saw this recently when he posted this like Mother's Day post, which was just so like obvious, I feel like, to anybody who understands how this kind of stuff works. It, like, to me, it reads as gross, but unfortunately, as we know, this stuff works. There was also the consideration that they would use neurodivergence to frame Blake's concerns as misunderstandings. And it was just that Justin was neurodivergent, and so he didn't understand that this could have come off as sexual harassment. He didn't understand because he was neurodivergent. And that they were going to direct followers to submit personal stories about Baldoni to kind of give him moral credibility. I think that they might have even asked for followers to submit stories about Blake doing things that were, you know, seen as kind of negative as well. So all of this goal was like a preemptive character assassination to make sure that the standing that she had prior to this character assassination would be on very shaky ground, so that when her legal complaint came out, it would kind of fall to pieces. And we saw that that is what happened. And then we also saw that Justin Baldoni kind of used the like Darvo model, which Johnny Depp made famous in many ways, which is the classic abuser tactic: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. So the way that he did that was, first of all, to deny. So Justin Baldoni has never directly acknowledged the harassment claims. His team released some very vague statements about respect and collaboration. So that was a very kind of easy deny by just basically not really saying anything about it, remaining very vague. And I think that that's a very good indicator that it was all true, right? Because if he was able to actually fully deny the statements, he would have done so. But he didn't. It was all very vague, right? He attacks. He obviously uses all of the media outlets beginning to publish these stories about Blake being hard to work with, that she was aloof and dismissive on set, that actually she was maybe the one who was in love with him, and that, yeah, actually she had been pushing him into situations, wasn't there? There was something about the intimacy coordinator. I remember there being a whole thing about that. And everyone being like, actually, it seems like maybe Blake was just like really wanted to get in Justin's pants. Who wouldn't? He's so handsome, blah, 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 which is a pretty common thing, I would say, for when we hear about a woman putting forward a sexual harassment claim when the man is someone who the audience finds sexually attractive. They'll be like, well, you know, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to go there? And also, Johnny Depp, all of the people who love Johnny Depp so much, you know, oh, well, Johnny Depp's so much more handsome than Amber Heard anyway. And like, he's, a real star and he's XYZ and he's blah, blah, blah. And we're seeing the exact same thing with Justin Baldoni, right? He is much more handsome than she is. She's a frumpy mess and she's so old and she's washed up and he has his whole career ahead of him. And, who wouldn't want to be with that guy? And he would never harass her because why would he? Why would he want her? Why wouldn't he want me, Christiane from Texas? So then he reverses the victim offender. He leans into his fatherhood content. He reinforces his image as a kind, empathetic feminist. And then we have Taylor Swift being subpoenaed, which of course shifts attention away from the actual legal complaints and what's going on in the court because we're like, oh, whoa, Taylor Swift. Oh my God, she's being subpoenaed. What does this mean? And then we have Taylor Swift basically being like, I didn't even watch the movie. I have nothing to do with it. And then that's a great way to continue to make fun of everybody who's involved. I mean, it makes for great story. All of this is a classic kind of redirection strategy. You discredit the accuser and you flood the news cycle with emotional noise. You make sure that everybody thinks that you're great, fantastic. She's a lying piece of shit. And so, of course, who's anybody going to believe? So I think that one of the things that's quite interesting about this is that the reason that all of this works so well is that the PR campaign didn't need to convince people that Blake was evil. They just needed to convince everybody that she was unlikable. Because that's kind of like one of the worst things that you can be as a woman is unlikable. If you're evil, you kind of have a bit of cachet, right? But unlikable, it's like, well, nobody wants to see that. A lot of people want to make fun of it, but nobody wants to see it. And as we know, I mean, TikTok's ecosystem really likes to amplify short, sharp, emotional kind of beats and stories. And the algorithm promotes content that kind of fits neatly into certain kind of archetypes. Hot girls are mean, cool girls are mean, hot women are fake, blah, blah, blah. Celebrities are all assholes. Kind of agree. And because all of the hate against Blake Lively kind of centered more around vibes than facts, it was a lot easier, I think, for people to feel like it was their own opinion rather than something that had been fed to them. And so I think that this is something that makes this stuff so dangerous, is that people think that they're actually fighting back against PR spin because we're talking about celebrities, rather than the fact that they're actually feeding into it because there's this underlying stuff that is being fed by the PR machine and that we're being told. I mean, even the fact that the PR team, Tag, I think their name is, one of the messages from the media manager was that she's like, God, this is working so much faster than any of us had ever imagined. So there's a quote from Melissa Nathan in this New York Times article, who was the woman who was kind of behind all this PR spin, who says, it's actually sad because it just shows you how people really want to hate on women. And I mean, if that doesn't just tell you everything, there's also this text exchange between Justin's publicist, Jennifer Abel, and Melissa, the PR woman. So this is from Jennifer. The narrative online is so freaking good and fans are still sticking up for Justin, and there literally has been no pickup of those two articles, which is actually shocking to me. But I see this as a total success, as does Justin. You did such amazing work. Melissa. Narrative is crazy good, so did you. The majority of socials are so pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them, lol. And the two articles that Jennifer is talking about, the ones that didn't get picked up, those are the ones that actually talk about Blake Lively's allegations of Justin Baldoni's sexual harassment. Yeah. So the sexual harassment claims as well, for anybody who doesn't know. This is how the New York Times reported it. She detailed her complaints during a meeting with Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and other producers in January, according to the legal filing. She claimed Mr. Baldoni had improvised unwanted kissing scenes and discussed his sex life, including encounters in which he said he may not have received consent. Mr. Heath had shown her a video of his wife naked, she said, and he had watched Miss Lively in her trailer when she was topless and having body makeup removed, despite her asking him to look away. She said that both men repeatedly entered her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressing, including when she was breastfeeding. Blake claims that Justin introduced improvised gratuitous sexual content and or scenes involving nudity into the film without prior discussion or agreement. So once again, I mean, we see what this is really about. Anyway, as I say, the Amber Heard blueprint, we see the direct parallels to this. The Johnny Depp's PR team preemptively framed Amber as volatile and manipulative, and Baldoni's team following the exact same approach with Blake. The same firm was involved. Similar tactics were used. The viral TikToks, memes about emotional instability. I mean, I still can't think about the "my dog stepped on a bee" meme as ever having been anything funny when we know what the reality of that was, what she was actually describing. But people love to make fun of women. And people love to think that women are unlikable. The emphasis on this unlikability, as I say, rather than direct accusations, because direct accusations are easy to push back against. But it's not very easy to say, well, I'm not unlikable, because what are you going to do about that? I don't like you. I find you annoying and weird, and I don't like your hair. It's too frizzy. So I'm going to continue talking about it. What are you going to do? Both cases just show how disgustingly easy it is for public opinion to be weaponized against women before they have an opportunity to speak, and how quickly that can be done to make sure that anything that you then say will be either used against you or will be disbelieved, or will be just completely discredited. Yeah, anyway, I think it's also important to think about, Justin Baldoni has really built his public opinion around being kind of a progressive, feminist, masculine man. He has all of these TED Talks on vulnerability, his books on being like a man enough feminist, his interviews and viral posts discussing gender roles and feelings. I mean, he had that, viral post where he was like thanking his wife for giving birth, which to me personally, I find deeply gross and kind of like reductive, but whatever. But in practice, all that really does is allows him to kind of use this feminist image to appear above accusations. And when allegations emerge, people instinctively give him the benefit of the doubt. But internally, what he's actually doing is this directed, misogynistic, coordinated attack to cover up the fact that he was sexually harassing someone on set. So, yeah, this whole idea of him building his brand on being a man who listens to women. And certainly one of the things I remember most about him is that he used that power to actually actively silence one. So I just want to quickly talk about audience complicity and internalized misogyny, because I think it is very important to note that most of the viral videos that are attacking Blake, most of the comments that I see attacking Blake are made by women. So I think we all know that we have been socialized into a kind of like respectability politics of how women should appear, that women should enforce social norms and beauty and likability and behavior. And when someone breaks those norms or is perceived to break those norms, they're punished. But also that we as women should be the ones to punish them. And I wonder whether it's some kind of thing about feeling like, subconsciously, of course, I'm sure that this stuff isn't conscious, but that if we're the ones to do the punishing, then we can't be attacked for these same things, right? Because we're one of the good ones. We're the ones who understand where women should stand, and how they should act and how they should look. And if we're the ones calling them out, then it couldn't possibly be us. that's on the chopping block next, you know? So I feel like if you're a feminist, and I hope you are, uh, or I hope you're thinking about feminism, thinking about how your credibility as a feminist can be tested, I guess, that I think it's quite easy to love women when they're perfect. And in fact, it's quite easy to hate women when they're perfect. So, but it's very difficult to continue to stand up for them for what's right when they're imperfect and we don't like them. And I think, as I've said, Blake is not a perfect person. Um, there is stuff that she 100% should be called out on, and there's 100% things that are problematic, and you would be well within your rights to be like, I don't want anything to do with her films. I don't want to like give her money. I don't want to do that. Fine. Love it. Absolutely. But I think when we're looking at a sexual harassment claim, and we're looking at something that is being done to a woman that has nothing to do with the other things that she may have done in her life, is it okay to say that she either should not be believed that these things happen to her because we don't like her, or should we say it's fine that those things happen to her because we don't like her? Um, or do we say it is never okay for a woman to be sexually harassed in their place of work, whether we like them or not? Because I personally feel like, for me, it's the third option. Whether I like her or not, whether I liked Amber Heard or not, what they have gone through is not okay. And I feel like the fact that the hatred, like directed, vitriolic hatred, is all directed at the women in these situations, not the men who have sexually harassed someone, not the man in Johnny Depp's case who has physically abused someone, thrown stuff at them, uh, said horrific shit to them. And I mean, I just think it's quite possible that Blake Lively's career, Amber Heard's careers will be over in a way that neither Justin Baldoni's nor Johnny Depp's would ever be, because we don't like them and we don't think that they're likable, than if we'd ever thought that about a male celebrity. Like if we had ever looked at Johnny Depp and been like, I just don't really like the way he does his hair, and the way that he, you know, he's been really pushy on set about wanting to have his he wants to choose his own outfits, and I don't like the outfits that he's chosen. They're ugly. And sometimes in interviews, he is not very nice to the interviewers. And so I'm going to go and make commentary on every single video that I see of him now about how much I dislike him and his hair and the clothes he wears and the goal he has to continue to act at the age that he is and not think that he's past it, past his prime. I just think it's interesting that when we look at what's actually happened, the things that Johnny Depp has done, the things that Justin Baldoni has actually done, that are pretty bad, they're not the ones who are on the chopping block of public opinion. Just a thought. And so once again, as I say, the plantation wedding stuff, any racism, anything that's like an actual legitimate reason to dislike someone, this stuff resurfaces not as a point of critical analysis, but as a kind of justifier for punishment that's already underway. Even though these things absolutely, absolutely have a place in critique. Um, we need to think about the way that they're being used. Because actually, I mean, to be perfectly frank, to be using this kind of stuff as a kind of gotcha of like, well, no, this is the real reason that I hate Blake Lively is because of this stuff. But you're not talking about that in the reality of things, actually really does a disservice to the importance of those things. Because if that was actually what really mattered to the people who are talking about this kind of stuff, then that's what you'd be talking about. And there'd be a deeper conversation going on about why we're platforming people who are racist or do racist things. And instead, that's not the way that that's being done. Anyway, that's something that I don't think that I have the kind of capacity to go into in any meaningful way currently, and I think that that deserves to be spoken about a bit more clearly and with more thought. But from a feminist perspective, I just want us to consider that feminism is not just about theory or alignment, it is about the actions that we take. We need to resist this kind of like mob behavior, and recognize when we're being used, because that's kind of the situation that this is currently, is that we're being used for someone else's narrative, we're being used for someone else's defense, and I would hope someone that we don't align with, and someone that we would probably, when we really think about it, not want to be supporting, I would hope. And as I say, even though I am talking about this in the context of Blake Lively, this is part of this bigger situation. If this can happen to someone like Blake Lively, who's famous, she's rich, she's well connected, uh, it can happen to anyone. And like I say, we saw it on a small one off basis. I don't think this was a smear campaign, but we saw how quickly and easily the tide turns when we saw what happened with Doechii for that a moment. I mean, we saw it happen with Meg Thee Stallion. And I mean, that was a smear campaign where she was shot by Tory Lanez. And yet before that, the kind of PR media spin was that she was crazy. And then we discovered that no, actually, he had shot her. And then he got, prison time. Whoops. And I think the internet, and I say this as someone who is deeply, deeply online, I love the internet for so many reasons, but we have to be critical about uh, the places where it can do some pretty massive harm. And I think the internet enables a kind of mob mentality, as I say. It enables this kind of weaponized PR. It enables gendered character assassination, uh, and it enables this aesthetic moralizing as a kind of cover for politicized, gendered, uh, racist attacks. So this isn't about whether you like or dislike Blake Lively or people like her. This is about how easy it is to destroy a woman's credibility by manipulating public perception. And it's about how often we, as the viewers, do it for free without really understanding what we're doing. And we completely buy into something that is paid for, manufactured by people who, once again, I would hope we're not on the side of. And yeah, and this stuff is against us as women, and as I would hope a kind of community who wants better for us. Yeah. So I guess concluding all of this, I just wanted to say that I feel like this Blake Lively smear campaign, this isn't, yeah, the reason I guess that I'm so fired up about this as I'm talking about this is I don't think of this as entertainment or a scandal, or something like that. I feel like this is a warning. It's a warning sign. And I would like us to take it kind of seriously. And I don't know, who am I to say this kind of stuff? But we're in kind of unprecedented times. Um, I mean, I don't know. I saw something today that's kind of related, kind of not, but uh, it was an AI video of a female newsreader talking about something that was completely fake. The newsreader was fake, the voice was fake, the story was fake, and it looked pretty real. And yeah, as I say, we're coming into this kind of new age where deep fakes and stuff like that is going to become more and more prevalent. And so the fact that we're already at this point where we don't even need that to believe things about people that are either false or kind of like overhyped um or whatever. But I feel like we really, really need to be on guard for this kind of stuff because we are coming into this new age of um false the false internet and false media, not fake news. But this stuff will happen again. It will happen to another woman in a new format with smarter PR, with deeper fakes, and we're going to see it happen again and again. There's going to be someone else new, like within the next month or so, I'm sure. And we'll see something bigger than this within the next year or so. And I think what I would ask you is to just think about learning to recognize the pattern. If you see this stuff happening, think about where you've seen it before and think about how likely it is that rather than being a shared opinion, this might actually be like a coordinated attack that is being spread in a way that we'll start taking it on as our own opinion. And I guess also just thinking if you wouldn't say this about a man, and if you don't know where it came from, just interrogating it a bit. Who's talking about this? Why would they maybe want me to talk about this? What could they get out of this for me talking about this situation? And asking yourself, yeah, who benefits from me thinking this, saying this, continuing this story? So, my final kind of point to you, I guess, is that public opinion is not always organic. Media is pretty smart. Um, I'm hoping, that we're going to see the downfall of Rupert Murdoch any day now. Fingers crossed. But, this is not to say that this situation is Rupert Murdoch's fault, but maybe, could be. He's evil enough. Media is smart, but we are smart people and we can interrogate this kind of stuff. But yeah, public opinion is not always organic. And misogyny doesn't need a reason, it just needs an excuse. So I would hope that next time we see this, which we will see this again very soon, as I say. I hope that we're able to kind of just think about it and think about what the excuse that's being used for hating a woman is. And think about whether we think that that's a good enough reason to join it or whether maybe we want to do a little bit better. Okay. Anyway, love you guys very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.